go. So welcome everyone for our Monday Zoom call. And our focus today is going to be on mindfulness. So this week, you should have your third mindfulness lesson. And so I thought it would be appropriate to just move through a nice discussion on mindfulness. So the first lesson was just a lesson on mindfulness, just general mindfulness, being in the moment, being present, being mindful. The second one was mindful eating, eating mindfully, slowly, tasting the food, preparing the food, and honoring all the hands that brought the food to you, and choosing mindfully quality, nourishing foods, and things like that. And then this week was mindful communication. The lesson was on mindful communication, which is kind of my favorite of all the lessons in mindfulness. And so, first of all, I wanted to see if anyone has any questions. Any questions. And it doesn't have to be on the mindfulness lessons. It could be on the practices. It could be on anything that we've gone over or any of the videos that you've been watching. Any questions on the course at this point? No questions. Wow. Well, that's all right. That's good. We'll jump right into. So I just pulled up the mindfulness communication, which is this week, and you have a PDF as well as a video. So some people might prefer the video, some people prefer the PDF. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph and a couple key reminders, and then let's go into some discussion, because I get so much more, and we all get so much more out of it when we all share our genius intelligence and our different, our different information, our different angles. So mindful communication. Mindful communication is important for creating peace with yourself, creating harmonious relationships, and in empowering you to live the life of your dreams. Mindful communication includes speaking kindly and consciously to others, as well as your own self, listening to others as well as your own self, and maintaining times of silence. You can shift from an unconscious style of communication to a mindful and conscious style of communication by using I statements and taking responsibility for your feelings, listening attentively to others, using eye contact, avoiding interrupting when others are speaking, and avoiding making assumptions, and avoiding negative communications like criticizing, fault finding, and blaming. And here is a key reminder, that we say and think only that which we wish to create. And the second key reminder is engage in communications to bring love and connection. So let's share a little bit about your thoughts on just those few points of mindful communication.
So I feel like I'm pretty good overall with managing my thoughts, because I do understand that thoughts create emotions, which create actions, which create results. And my challenge, though, is, like, for example, seeing a father maybe abusing his boy in front of me, that to me would trigger me in a way that I would have a hard time managing my thoughts, or even seeing any kind of a negative thing around me, because you can't not unsee it. And so for me, it's really managing my thoughts in the midst of seeing unpleasant things around me and differentiating what I can do, or what I'm not in a position to do, and to more or less pick my battles. You know, we live in a time where, you know, my awareness is pretty good about the things that are unfolding on the planet, and some of them I really don't like. Some of them I can do nothing about, but um, I'm 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 challenged at times to manage my thoughts in the kind of way I would really like to stay at a high vibration. So I'm curious as to how you might address something like that, being in the witness to something negative, but still maintaining a high vibe.
Well, I don't have all the perfect answers, but I would say if you want to stay in an empowered state, in a mindful state, and very conscious, is if someone says something to you that's hurtful, or someone says something to you that, you know, doesn't feel right, or feels like a criticism, or if you see, like you say, a father being unkind to their child, or something that can upset you, the empowered approach, well, let's go into the disempowered approach. So the disempowered approach would be to get very upset by it, and would be to engage in the drama of it, and begin to spin and blame and fault, and, you know, get into stories and start to, whether it's stories that run in your head over and over, or it's you're talking to other people about, but this person did that and this person did that, and all of a sudden you're very upset. So you have to take responsibility for the fact, the fact that you've gotten upset, you've been triggered, and so you have some responsibility in it. So it would be about not avoiding that responsibility, seeing that, okay, I'm mindful. I've gotten triggered. I've gotten upset. Something has really bothered me. And I've gotten to the point where, and I'm not saying this for you, it sounds like with you with the observation with the father and the child, it was just an observation. But let's say you do start to engage and start to, you know, say something negative back, or you start to talk to other people and gossip, or however it is, whatever disempowering way you choose to engage in the drama. Now you're part of it. You know, it's co-created now. Now you're engaging it, you're fueling it, you're part of it, and it's simply about taking responsibility for your own self, of, you know, where you've kind of gotten engaged and drawn into this negative cycle. An empowered way to handle it, and we can always switch if we notice, because, and I'll give you an example of a very unconscious thing that I did, a very not mindful thing I did a couple weeks ago. It popped in my head on my walk, and is to, okay, that person said something unkind to me, it wasn't true, it wasn't right, you know, I'm just gonna stay in my own business, and I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm going to go on with my day, and I'm not going to engage in the drama. I'm not going to let it engage in my mind. I'm not going to gossip or talk about it. I'm not going to fuel the fire. It's just an unkind person that said something stupid, and it's not even my business. And I'm just going to let that go and move on in the moment, and have a joyful day, a joyful moment, and not be a co-creator in this drama. I can be a witness. Sometimes when I witness things, especially since it's very hard if you see a child being unkind to a parent, being unkind to a child, that's very hard for me. You know, it's there a lot of times, you know, you just can't say anything. But you can pray, you can say a prayer and pray for the child, pray for the parent. If it really upsets you, start to look inside yourself, what's the story, that why is it bothering me? Because whenever anything bothers us, there's always some sort of wound here in here, because it's triggered us, it's triggered an upsetting state, and start to become responsible for and mindful of what's going on inside of us that we can heal. So it brings an opportunity for us to heal a wound on our part, heal maybe an unconscious belief or a hidden, wound that we didn't even know that happened. So it's stepping into being empowered around these situations and these circumstances, rather than being a co-creator in the drama and the negativity, and going into blame and fault and gossip and all that kind of stuff. Because then even if someone did wrong us, now we're so engaged in it, and we're fueling the fire. Now we have to take responsibility for being a co-creator in this upsetting circumstance or situation. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot. Just different perspective, that's really all it is. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, as we go through our mindful communication, and it's not always easy, especially when we're upset, to be mindful and kind and be in that love and connection, and I think all humans struggle with that at times, and nobody's perfect, and we can always totally forgive ourselves if we just get upset or say something, because we're human. And but then to apologize or to go back and to talk about it after, so that we can create forgiveness and create healing in the relationship, in the circumstance, because we're all going to have moments where we're tired, we're cranky, someone says something and we just snap back. I mean, it happens. So it's about really being mindful and communicating to our own selves too, lovingly, and forgiving ourselves. That's the biggest thing, to forgive ourselves. So let me give you the example, and then I want to read the next thing on the mindful communication for this week. It'll be a little repeat when you go over the lesson. So it was the homeless dinner, and it was a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, and there was only 3 of us at the dinner. And when there's only 3 of us at the dinner, I get a little stressed, like, oh my God, we got 100 meals, we got to scope the city, and there's not a lot of help. And so the girl that came along, it was her first time, and the first half of the dinner, we were just, so Bob and I have been doing this for over 10 years, so we kind of got it down pat. We'd see a homeless camp and screech over and pull over and then start grabbing the meals, and I realized after halfway through, she was handing me the bags, the girl in the back seat, but I was really not mindful about really including her in handing out the meals. And I thought, wow, here I am, she's right there. How could I be so unconscious, so unmindful of this? She's come to help. And so at that point I had, shifted and said, do you want to go out on the streets and hand some of these out? And we shifted it, but it had taken me a while to really become conscious and mindful of really that she'd come to help, and really inviting her to help to the fullest extent. And so sometimes when we do get nervous, or we get, we're under pressure or something like that, sometimes for me, I can become unconscious. My mindfulness just goes out the window, like it did during that homeless dinner. And I was surprised at myself. Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. How could I be? But then we got to be kind to ourselves and loving to ourselves, and, move back into understanding that we're doing our best, and sometimes we do get under pressure, and the we go a little unconscious. We're not as mindful and present. And so for me, slowing down always helps become present and mindful and observant. When I'm feel like I'm in a hurry, or I feel like I'm in a stressful situation, that's when my mindfulness can go out the window. That was an example I thought of on my walk I wanted to share, so everybody knew that, we all go into these times where we become a little unconscious, and the mindfulness goes out the window. Any comments or conversations or discussion on that?
Go ahead, Taylor.
I was just gonna say that's my biggest enemy right there, is just slowing down. And I'm a big to-do list person, and that's been the hardest part about it, but it's really helped. It's helped level everything out. But I do get really social anxiety really bad, so that's something that's really hard for me. Even just walking into a room is really hard for me sometimes, which is really weird. It's just random things like that. And at first, when people were like, yeah, just breathe, go sit down and meditate, I'd be like, yeah, right, that's gonna fix it. And really, I was not breathing. I was panic breathing, so I was, as soon as I started to calm down. But it's something that's gonna be a work in progress every single day. Something we're gonna have to work at, like memory, work at it, make it strong, make it something that's more natural to us. I feel like over time it will become a lot more natural.
I believe it truly will. I had anxiety at younger years, and it was actually meditation and yoga that really healed my anxiety. I still get it at times.
Yeah.
I think we all get it at times when we're in uncomfortable or unfamiliar situations, or
Yeah, but it's kind of cool to be able to channel it too, because that just gives me this energy. And now I normally would have went and got high, and I don't do that anymore. And so it just, I'm left with all this energy, like a ball of energy, and I don't know what to do. And I'm just, I'm that person up on it. And so it's just hard to sit down and do that, but it's really helped me. It's something that's this came into my life for a reason. I'm so grateful for you guys, especially Evelyn and Grace. It was exactly what I needed, but I'm gonna keep working at it. We're gonna do it.
Yeah, and find ways for you that can kind of slow you down and quiet you down, that work for you, taking a walk,
Yeah.
or a certain kind of breath, or a mantra
Yeah.
that can help. I know for me, after my beloved angel in heaven decided to transition over to the other side, I had post-traumatic stress, like anxiety attacks, out of the blue. I would wake up with an anxiety attack, dread, anxiety, panic, fear, and it would hit me randomly throughout the day. And it went on for, I still get them sometimes, but it went on for solidly for at least a year, at least a couple of years. It was pretty solid. And I literally would lay in bed, and I think I've shared this before, and I would chant, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I would just chant it over and over and over until that was the only thing that would have the anxiety subside.
Slow you down enough to actually think and a normal thought, and not just.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier.
It was the only thing that I tried everything, and that was, I just started repeating thank you, and that vibration of gratitude is one of the highest vibrations. And even though I wasn't in a state of gratitude, I was in a state of literally anxiety and panic and dread and fear. But to just keep repeating it, fake it till you make it, kind of just repeat it. And somehow I still wake up mornings with anxiety
sometimes,
and I'll repeat the thing. I still repeat it, and I'll go to bed sometimes repeating it. I'll wake up repeating it. Sometimes I'll just repeat thank you when I wake up, just to avoid it coming on.
I'm gonna do that.
Prevent it, just to prevent it.
Yeah, no, seriously, one step ahead. I'm not I'm just it's really good to know though that you actually did go through that, because it gives me kind of hope, and sharing that just makes me actually, it's a little bit more tangible now. Do you know what I mean? I've worked at this a lot more. We're here. We've been doing this for quite a while, and so like it's kind of fitting together a lot better. It's becoming more easy, So excited. I'm stoked on it.
I think for myself, the mindful communication, and I think my job has helped a lot with this, but it's easier with other people to really like sit down and slow down and really understand where they're coming from, what they're saying, and why they're saying it. But when it comes to myself, I've noticed, at least like this past week, at least past 2 weeks, that like I haven't really been allowing myself or opening up space to like really slow down or just kind of be in awareness. And I noticed that a lot when I was in Mexico, because I was like stressing over like the littlest things. Like everyone was, getting really drunk and enjoying themselves, and I was just like, like thinking of the worst thing is ever, because my anxiety does that. And I had a panic attack while we were snorkeling, and that's when I kind of realized like how much I've allowed my anxiety to become more of a part of me, and kind of doing things for like all the wrong reasons. Like and honestly, like just yesterday I decided to pick up a book that I bought when I was like 16, and it's called the Warrior Goddess Way. And it's basically like claiming your own power, like learning to different, like to kind of navigate the voice in your head voices versus like the true, like the real you. And it just reminded me like all of the times that I'm like, oh my God, I should have done this, or I should have done that, or like I could have, like is just the negative part of my brain wanting me to like fail, or not wanting, just wanting to stay negative basically. And just kind of like separating myself from that and realizing how much I do it, and how much control I can have over it, and communicating with myself and allowing myself to kind of feel these feelings, but no, I don't have to like become them or let them become me. So I like the mindfulness, because that's like I stayed up till 1 a.m. last night reading, and it's like almost like a what is it called, like I don't know, it's just so weird reading this, because I've read it so many times, and it's like you really hear things and see things when you're actually ready or in a space to like accept them and hear them, and like reading this book is like reading a whole new book, because like everything in it is just so like it's processing now. I think before it wasn't, I was really young. I was just I don't know, I just wasn't aware of like the power of myself and the power of mindfulness, and slowing down and like really embracing yourself, and letting yourself kind of just be, versus, oh, I should be this, or I could have done this. And and it's really neat to be able to be in that space of like, okay, at first I was making myself really feel bad because I missed a lot of yoga, and now finding more compassion and more like understanding of why, and that it is okay, and I don't have to like freak out on myself and make myself feel even worse at the end of the day about it. So mindful communication, I think I would, kind of associate it more with myself, or try to work on it more within myself, because that's where I kind of lack, or I've been not so good at with myself, and I'm still definitely learning. But it's nice, the shift that kind of occurs when you allow that space to open up, and you engage with it in a soft, kind, compassionate way, not in a I have to do this because or else I'm this type of person, So changing those I shoulds or I could into, more compassionate communication with myself, and more understanding, versus the negative route of it, which I've been doing all my life. Yeah.
Thank you, Evelyn, so much for
Yeah.
sharing that. That's so true. I think we could be so compassionate with everybody. It's like I I'm so kind and sweet to my grandchildren. Phil always comment, oh, you're such a nice Mimi to your grandchildren. But if I could be that kind and sweet to myself, wow. And we need to be. And like I had said, we need to be the softest place to land. So we are the softest person. So think about the kindest person that we can think of, the kindest person we can be, who we can be the kindest to, our animals, our dogs, or whatever, and be even kinder to ourselves, our own self, so that we are the kindest to ourselves first. And that transforms everything. And taking all those shouldas, wouldas, couldas, regrets, remorse, all of that, and taking all the not taking things unachronologically. Like, it's not like if we fail at something, we're not a failure. So, oh, I tried that. I tried that, like babies, when they walk, they fall, but they're failing. They're getting a little bit closer. If they told themselves they'd fail, they'd never learn to walk. So as we go through life, and even if we take a test and we fail the test, okay, we failed the test, but we're not a failure. So not taking anything on as a personal thing to ourselves, not taking it on no matter how the outcome is. I wanted to read this THINK acronym. I love it. It's on my wall, and I really try to practice this. It is one of my favorites. And so it's THINK. And T stands for, so this is before you speak. Think before you speak. So before you speak something, ask yourself, T, is it true? H, is it helpful? I, is it inspiring? N, is it necessary? And K, is it kind? And I invite you to use this acronym towards yourself first and foremost. Is this thought in my head that I'm telling myself, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And if it doesn't pass those tests, just throw it out. It's any comments on that THINK acronym?
For me, I love that. That's a really good one. But the one I've memorized is halt. Don't let myself get hungry, angry, lonely, or tired.
Mhm.
And I find that when I'm 2 of those out of the 4, my thinking starts to spiral downward. When I'm 3 or more, it's down. So it's, for me, being mindful, am I hungry? Do I need to take care of my basic needs with that? Do I have some underlying anger going on? Am I not being present to something that happened that, stuffing it is not a way to deal with it because it will just fester? Am I lonely? And am I tired? And the combination is something that I can be mindful with, to actually take actions before I do kind of go off the deep end with anything. So it's something that I've learned a long time ago, that is a way to self-monitor myself so that I don't have to set myself up with having my ego act up on me in any kind of a negative way. But I like Thing too, because it's on the same wavelength. It's really addressing being present to how we are, and really responding to a situation with the basic premise of, is it true? Like, if it's not, then everything else is a moot point.
Yeah, it's just being more mindful of what you speak. If you run it past that, and like your acronym, HALT, being more mindful about your circumstances. Am I hungry? Am I tired, things like that, and being mindful and taking care of yourself and being mindful with what we're saying. And, even just using the true or the kind. I mean, when we talk to ourselves, asking ourselves, is this really true? Am I a loser, or is that true? Is it kind? That just throws out all the inner critic, anything the inner critic's going to say. If it's not kind, it's not true, it's not inspiring, it's not helpful. So first, using it towards ourselves, our own selves, to the voice inside ourselves. And if it doesn't pass those, then just let it go. It's not worth entertaining. It's not empowering. It's a disempowering thought. It's a disempowering way to be with ourselves. It's a disempowering way to be with another. And we can be more mindful of that communication in our head and the communication we give to other people. When we start to think about, is it helpful? Is this true? Is it really necessary? That really shuts me up a lot of times.
Yeah, I appreciate anything that allows me to kind of check my motives, check my intentions, kind of just check myself in general, and I've gotten really good at that just because I used to just say whatever was on my mind, and I realized not all of that is a positive thing, and I unintentionally hurt people's feelings, and I no longer want to do that. And at work I have to be very understanding, and I want people to feel safe with me because they're healing and they're on their journey of recovery. And so learning to turn that inwards and do that with myself, I know is going to be a challenge, but I think that's where the real growth is, or the real just start to really being present and being kind to myself is, because I can be kind all day to everybody. That's just, I feel like that's the type of person I am. But when it comes to myself, it's I put myself on the back burner, and I'm like, you get everything because, you gave everything to everyone else now.
There's none left for you, no more.
Yeah, literally.
No, it's a cool little, it's just a quick check-in, not something so complicated that, we need to sit down and make it a big deal, because sometimes that's hard in daily life. So, I do like that a lot. And it does knock off half the things anyways by the time you get to helpful or inspiring. So I think we'll be good. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and let's put ourselves on the front burner.
Yeah.
And be mindful of ourselves first, and the way we communicate with ourselves, and that slowing down. And one of the things that I love when I'm in a meditation, because I've been a single mom, so it's all been about fast, multitasking. I'm going to do this, that, and in my mind, I was rarely present. They say you can't be present and mindful and in a hurry at the same time.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So I'm in a hurry. Except, when I did get home with the kids and we'd play games, I would be present. But also have things in my own
You didn't
list
still going from the day. Yeah.
It's a busy life, and we all live busy lives. And it's so one of the things I do when I am meditating is I'll imagine there's a big rock in my pelvis, and it's just rooting me to the seat that I'm in. Maybe I'll do this meditation tomorrow. Or maybe it's pranayama tomorrow, so maybe I'll do it Wednesday for meditation. And then I'll just imagine I'm completely stopped. My consciousness is stopped. Everything stops. And I'll just allow myself to slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down till I'm stopped. And for me, listening meditations are one of the easiest for me because I do have a busy, active mind. So I'll just listen intently to the birds chirping or whatever sound arises, but I'm just stopped. And I'm like, one of those just receivers, receiving the sounds, those round, what are they called? Discs, they receive the vibrations and the sound and just receive and just be fully present and aware. And I was meditating with my grandson yesterday. And we're listening to music and I'm going to Rapture and I'm feeling, and he's kind of fiddling around and doing moving. And I said, James, you're not going to access the rapture unless you get into your silent stillness. You need to keep yourself still, because you can't access that rapture while you're in this dimension of busyness. It's a more expanded. You have to get into the silent stillness. And he actually sat there. He got into silent stillness. He was resting in the silent stillness. His body was still. He listened through the whole song, one whole song. He was only 14. And at the end, I said, did you feel anything? He goes, I felt the rapture.
Oh, that's so awesome though. That is so cool.
So it's being mindful comes with that presence and that stillness, and allowing our minds to really slow down and become aware, like that alert, conscious awareness, listening, looking, smelling, using those 5 senses. That's why with the walking meditation, I suggest use your 5 senses as you walk. Smell the smell of the earth, feel the breeze on your face, listen to the sounds. It just brings you present, and rather than in that static thinking, that racing thoughts. Any comments or any wisdom to share?
No, not for me. Thank you.
Nothing's coming up for me either. I do like the other acronym, FEAR, false evidence appearing real.
That's a good one.
What was it? Say it again.
FEAR, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real.
Okay, I like
Or
that
some
one.
people do the other one of F everything and run.
Okay, I like that one.
Whatever works for you.
That's funny.
All right, so I'm going to read a little more of this. So you may not even have to read this lesson because we might go through it. So there's a distinction between reaction versus response. It says reaction, unconscious, lacking thoughtfulness, gut reaction, defensive, snap judgments. When we become reactive, we make quick, raw, unfiltered decisions or comments because reactive energy is urgent, angry at times, acting on emotions, and not thinking things through, and can cause more harm than good. When under pressure, reactive people can offend others, lose their temper, and disrespect others' time and energy. Response, being responsive, conscious, thoughtful, well-planned, responsive, think things through. Responsive people keep their cool even when things go wrong and become stressful. They have the ability to listen and hear others and formulate a careful, well thought out response. Responsive people have a filter that includes their value system, reasoning, and respect. Responsive behavior takes others' needs in mind and inspires others. When we practice responding rather than reacting, this alone allows us to become more mindful of our communication. When we can focus on communicating for increased love and connection, we allow this motive and direct how we respond to ourselves and to others. So comments on that? It reminds me kind of growing up, and it's not even just reactive people versus responsive people, but there are people that are more reactive and people that are more responsive. But we go through times in our days and weeks where we are more reactive that time in that situation, where we could be very responsive in other circumstances. So it's just a way of being that one is more conscious and mindful than the other. is more unconscious. And we all fall into that trap at times where we just simply react.
Yeah, I was going over some stuff with one of my clients today, and we were talking about, he was telling me how he had recently gotten pulled over, and like his initial reaction is to run away or like, you know, be fearful of the situation or the cops. So he, you know, reacted off of how he felt. So he like parked the car and like just tried walking away really fast. And the officer was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he explained to me how like he quickly realized that he was just reacting based off of like past experiences, past, you know, fear that's still not dealt with, and how like he very quickly realized how he is now a different person and he doesn't have to run away. And he was like, it was crazy to me, like the cops, you know, like searched my car, and I've never been so like confident with them searching my car, and they walked away with smiles, and it just reminded me of like, I don't have to react based off of like how I used to be or how things used to make me feel, or, you know, cops I think scare anyone nowadays, but like I was really proud because it's true. Like when you're, at least for myself, when I was in my addiction, I'd react to anything and everything so quick. Like I was like a ticking time bomb, you know, like my family was even scared to like even talk to me because I would just snap. And it wasn't because they did anything. It was because of how I felt as a human, you know. I was angry at myself. I was angry at the world. I was ready to just explode at all times. And being that person who like does, you know, make sure they're reacting not because of how they feel, but because it's just a genuine response to the situation or person, like I think there's a lot of power in that, and a lot of growth and knowing like, oh, I don't have this anymore. I don't have to be, you know, reactive and upset when things can be upsetting. I don't have to, you know, react based off of that, because that just like you said, fuels a fire, you know. It just makes you feel worse. Like on my way home, this lady almost like cut me off pretty bad, and then she started screaming at me, and I just started getting so upset, and I'm like, why am I getting so worked up about this? Like I need to calm down. Like it's not that big of a deal. She needs to slow down. I don't need to like make myself feel so angry and, you know, flip her off or whatever. But it is a work and, you know, a trial and error. And I think that's one thing I have to remind myself, that it's not going to be, it's, you know, not going to be perfect ever, but it's not going to, you know, evolve in one night. So I think there's a lot of grace in pausing and celebrating those little moments where you're like, I could have, you know, been reactive and I could have done this, but I didn't. And yeah, I like that. I like that we're going over this today. It goes like perfectly with my day and everything that's been going on lately.
Thank you so much for sharing all that wisdom. I think we all got a lot out of that, Evelyn.
Yeah,
I know
thank you.
I did. And I
Yeah.
especially love, you know, that we often are reacting from past experiences. So I'm grateful that you brought that in. And also that, you know, you began to react when she cut you off, and then you stopped and you said, what, why am I wasting my energy? What, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like, you know, our pick our battles kind of things. And
Yes.
let things go. And it's not our business. If she's in a bad mood, not driving good, and
Yeah.
well, you know, not going to let it ruin my day. But you caught yourself, and that's the growth. And knowing, not having that expectation of perfection, but knowing we're all evolving. We're all just getting a little better. You caught yourself. You became mindful. You became conscious. And look, I'm noticing how you're cutting those vegetables very mindfully.
Yeah.
Not just chop, 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 chop. You know,
Yeah.
you're doing it very mindfully. That's beautiful. Anyone else? All right, I'll go on to the next one. Let's see here. Keep track of the time. Okay, so a mindful communicator is a good listener. So listening is kind of the other half of communicating. It's a, you know, talking and listening. They're two-way streets. positive listening skills, giving your alert attention, fully present, using eye contact, being undistracted, talking less, keep an open mind, nod approvingly, turn to face the person speaking. A good listener will pay attention to the person who is speaking and give them their full attention. Give them eye contact. Use body language to face them and keep their body and mind open to them. A good listener is considerate and will give their full attention to whomever is speaking. They listen to help the person feel good about themselves. Good listeners wait for a pause before they speak their turn and speak to understand and clarify what the other is sharing. Good listeners will pay attention to body language and nonverbal cues like tone of voice in order to understand and allow the person to be heard. What to avoid: interrupting, being distracted, looking away, inattentive, imposing your solutions. Interrupting is the opposite of listening. It sends a message to the person speaking that what they're sharing is not important, that what they have to say is more important than what the other person is sharing. They're not showing respect or care for the other person and what they wish to share. They send a signal that their time is not worthwhile. So let's share about listening, being a good listener.
I'm drawing a blank tonight, but I mean, being a good listener, that's what I'm good at. Usually that's like my best thing. I'm never the one that's like talking about my stuff, but that also is a bad thing for me because I run away from all of my problems by trying to listen to everyone else's problems and fix everyone else's problems. But listening, I guess, I don't know, with the intent to not, I don't know how to explain it right. Like listening, I can't explain it. Not to reply, but just to think, actually process what they're saying. Do you know what I mean? Like not to be ready for what I'm going to say next, because what I'm going to say next is more important than what you have to say, regardless about what you're going to say. But that's a big thing, like with everyone, especially nowadays, you know, it's a really big thing, learning. There's a lot of like, I don't know, social media and stuff. Listening is a thing that we need to pay attention to, though, because I feel like we listen and then we listen and then nothing happens. You know what I mean? Like behind that, like everyone just listens and then it's just gone. Like, okay, thanks. But listen, when I want to look at you and know that you're listening to me, reaching into my soul and actually listening to what I have to say, not just going to put that one ear out the other when we're done talking, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, beautifully said. Beautifully said. And listening to our own self.
Yeah, that's a hard one for me.
Yeah, so I really noticed some things when I was really listening to you speaking and just following all the different things you were mentioning about what is involved with really active listening. And so what I got from that was that it's a verb, it's an action step that requires mindfulness to really be good at it.
Yes.
And so as I was doing that with you, I'm actually, okay, she's saying all these words, I'm really listening, I'm actually experiencing it in a way that helps me understand that it is an action I can mindfully take in every situation I'm in.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, especially if it's a boring topic or whatever, I can drift.
Yeah.
I grew up with ADD as a kid, and there's a tendency for me to get distracted.
Your mind's just going crazy. Yeah.
And so I noticed that when I was active listening, I felt more engaged, and it was kind of fun because I
You can
was
like feel it, you know, you
so
feel that love for that person, like you feel it, you're really, really listening, and it's just a beautiful
yeah, and
thing.
then Grace knows I love her a lot too, so that's always an aspect of active listening with her. But yeah, that's a good topic.
We have a lot of like acquaintances, you know, all these people that we talk to that we can shake hands and see, but like when you have that kind of a connection, someone that's going to listen, where you feel that support, it's just outdoes everyone else. You can have a few really good friends that are going to do that for you versus all these people that aren't really your friends. Not necessarily a bad thing, you just don't know them really, you know, it's just surface level stuff.
Yeah, and I'm back here with my mom right now. She's in hospice,
Oh,
and she needs me to be actually listening for her. She's been calling for it. And again, I'm in a place to where I'm making a concerted effort at being there for her in that capacity. And I'm really grateful that I can use these skills to actually help her know that she's not alone here. She just told me the other day she feels really lonely, you know, and so making an effort at really listening allows her to really get it, that I'm there for her, that I love her and supporting her. And I think that's true with everybody that we can do that with.
yeah, but sometimes it's like it's really hard to tap into that, you know. It's kind of a sensitive thing for some people to even be able to tap into being so focused on someone. It's like a commitment that some people just can't, you know, just isolation. That's what people tend to do, especially in addiction. So like, I don't know, just that part of it sucks, you know, just kind of emotions and trauma. PTSD comes into this a lot, and then like things just mess with your head, and then listening just becomes so hard. You know what I mean? Like everything's just
Well, what makes it easier for me is, like Grace talked about it, is being that way with ourselves first.
Mhm.
For me to really practice, you know, active listening with myself, what's going on internally, taking the time to get quiet, do some meditation, do some yoga. Also, you know, being actively kind with myself. And that, you know, I think it's a human condition. All of us are very challenged at being as kind with ourselves as we are with others, or
Yeah.
even as we are with these kind of fur babies.
You little babies. My camera's all messed up right there, but do you guys see that? Can you guys see that weird?
I can, yeah. It
It
looks like you got an
looks like a
apparition there or
ghost.
something.
That's all right.
Sorry, I
Okay,
was looking for my
so
air.
I
sorry.
just want, oh, you go on, Evelyn.
Are you sure?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was looking for my AirPods and I couldn't find them. But yeah, I like this a lot because I have really bad ADHD and ADD, and like sometimes, like before I got on my medication, like I would be present and listen to people, but I wasn't like processing things because my brain just didn't work like that sometimes, you know. But now that I've given myself kind of more space to be more present, it is different. And it's crazy how everything does start within yourself, you know. Like the more I tend to myself, the better I can be to other people. And usually every night I do a guided meditation, but my book gave me like a small meditation thing to do on my own. And it was basically just like listening to your body and connecting, you know, your mind and body. And I was like surprised that I was actually able to engage in it, because every time I try to meditate on my own, it doesn't work out for me. Like I always end up like just thinking and stuff. And so it gave me hope. Like I'm actually, you know, I think I'm getting somewhere with this, you know. And I think the patience and the just like slowing down is a huge factor of it, because at the beginning of this I was just like hurry, you know, you have to do this, you can't be this, you know. And now I'm just like, it's okay. It's okay if you're not on time. It's so you'll try better tomorrow, you know. It's okay if you you know, whatever. But yeah, I think this just all goes full circle, like the mindfulness with eating, the mindfulness with yourself, with others, with listening. Like it's like the flower of life almost, you know, just like all one that connects, and each part is very specific and unique but important. So yeah, I really enjoy that. And it's just my mind's going like, oh, whoa, you know, like realizing all of these things and where I can apply this to not only myself. But yeah, thank you, Grace, and thank all of you guys. I love you guys.
Yeah, thank you. That's just beautiful. This is why I love the discussions. My Zoom calls are always discussions because we're all sharing our wisdom. We all have this wisdom within us. We're all connected to the source of all creation. And to share our wisdom, we all gain more. We all gain more. That's why I love the Zoom discussions. More so than just a lecture or something, so that we can kind of discuss it and share. So thank you for sharing that. I wanted to share when I was back east, my sister was talking, and I don't even remember the story she was telling, but it was a funny story. I was playing with the kids, but I looked over and she was talking to my daughter and she was talking to my aunt, and she was having a conversation with the two of them. And I was playing, you know, Bumpy Road Chickaboom with the little 4-year-old on my lap. And I looked over and I watched her, and she was just so skilled at communicating. You know, she would turn and look at my daughter and give her the eye contact because my daughter was sitting over here, and then she'd turn and look at my aunt. And she seemed to like just this like naturally make sure that it was, you know, I'm sure she wasn't, it was just, it seemed to be pretty even. And I just glanced over and I was just observing her communicating. And I just noticed that she just had this natural gift to speak and to give eye contact and to turn her head. And it was because at first it first alerted me because I become my codependent and get out of my business. And I was watching my daughter and them communicating, and she was talking to my aunt, and I was thinking, oh, I hope she includes my daughters so she doesn't feel left out. And then all of a sudden she turned over and looked at my daughter and chatted for a little bit. And so I noticed, so that's how I noticed it. Because I, you know, was being codependent with my daughter, making sure she was okay. And but it was just beautiful to watch. It was just beautiful to watch that it was just this natural thing and something that I've had to develop, and she just had naturally. And the other thing I wanted to say is, when I've talked, if you've ever talked to people, and I'm sure we all do this at times, it's something that I'm trying to be much, much better at. And you're talking to them and they're diverting their eyes. They're looking over, and it immediately, it's like, they're not listening to me. You just don't even want to talk anymore. Have you ever had that experience where it's like, you can just, when people don't, you know, give eye contact, that you just don't feel present in the conversation. You don't feel like they're present to you in the conversation. So it is that eye contact is important part of listening. Any comments or wisdom to share with that? Any questions? Let me see here. I think we are. So on the lesson, I kind of went into Patanjali and his yamas and niyamas. Did I go into the niyamas too? No. And kind of merging that in with communication. And so the first one is ahimsa, non-violence. These are the yamas. By following morality in the yoga philosophy of Patanjali's Eightfold Path, we honor the first yama in mindful communication. We practice peaceful, non-violent communication at all times with all beings. And then satya is the second one, truthfulness. This is kind of like THINK acronym. In all our communications, it's important to be truthful, that it is an ethical and moral standard of right communication. However, we don't always need to speak every truth we believe, especially if we know it is not necessary and that it will cause harm. Satya encourages us to speak truthful words that benefit all involved and are spoken with great care, not to harm. And then asteya, non-stealing, the third one, Patanjali's yama is Astia is non-stealing, and although it refers to not taking what is not yours, material or intellectual property, or credit that is not due, this yama also includes not stealing time by being late or over-talking. Over-talking and interrupting are ways to avoid reciprocal conversation and is a form of stealing time. In mindful communication, it is important to be aware of and conscious of our conversations and to create reciprocal balance in speaking and in listening. And then brahmacharya, restraint, although Patanjali refers to sensual and sexual restraint, we can also refrain from criticism, judgments, and communicating hurtful messages to ourselves and others. So we can practice restraint by not speaking to ourselves unkindly. Restrain yourself from reacting impulsively, acting out your anger or hurt by saying things you may regret later and that can cause damage in a good relationship. That's our reactive. Be mindful in what you say and how it will affect others, even when you are highly triggered and upset. This is the work of a mature and responsible yogi. And so the fifth is non-possessiveness. When we apply this yama to communication, it can look like communicating to share rather than to look good, gain approval, or rewards. To share ideas with others, not as if you own those ideas, yet rather as possibilities from the cosmos, from thought spheres, from cultural conditioning. Also hogging the conversation without sharing the time by creating reciprocity that allows others to speak as well as yourself. Also avoiding demanding of others in communications. So anything that you'd like to share on those ideas from Patanjali and referring to his yamas to communication? Or any of those that hit a little more home than another?
Yeah, I like all of them just because, you know, I feel like, so when I first tried to get clean, I, you know, was seeking in all aspects of my life for help, and like not really like one foot in, one foot out. So I'd go to NA meetings, and you know, sobriety to me was only doing Xanax and not oxys, because oxys were my, you know, drug of choice. And so I'd sit in these meetings and I, you know, I'd talk up this recovery that I had and all these inspirational things, but just to you know, like see the head nods and see like gain validation, like, yeah, I am doing the right thing, knowing deep down that I wasn't, you know. So to have that be a huge shift for me, and now be able to speak from like a place of truth and like of healing and of like actual experience, is more humbling than, you know. And I would just go home after those meetings and just feel so bad about myself, and then just get high about it, you know, and act like it wasn't a big deal, or, you know. So I think more often than not, we self-sabotage not only ourselves, but you know, the things we say to people, and mask everything because we're afraid of our actual truth. And to stay in alignment with that is huge to me now, because I am in a place where I can inspire people and help people, and I don't want to, you know, give them anything false, or make them, you know, or make myself like go home or lay my head at night and know that I was, you know, untruthful or dishonest with myself or the people I love most. Because now it really hits, you know. Before I was, you know, not here or stable, so it didn't really matter, but now I like feel everything times 100. So I try really hard to be honest and be real with myself and those around me, because living a life of just lies is horrible. And it's, you know, just like
so unhealthy, and it just feels so wrong. Like it, and that's what fed my addiction, was just like all the guilt and shame from everything. So I like that. I really enjoy like being able to put things into perspective and look at things from like a bigger picture and realize like, wow, yeah, there is growth in that, you know, and I am kind of doing that and I can improve on that, but it's getting better. Like, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm. Thank you for your deep self-honesty. Deep
No,
self-honesty.
she's always got beautiful words. Yeah, I would probably, like, I would honestly agree with her. It's the same thing. Mostly the truthfulness. Satya, I can't say it. Satya.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, that's just like a big thing. Like we were talking about the surface level stuff and just like having integrity and stuff. That's a big thing for me. And as far as like my values and my morals in life, that's a really big thing, is having integrity. And I think truthfulness is kind of dying out nowadays because it's really easy to run away from everyone, you know, nowadays, because we have everything that we want at our fingertips. Like it's sickening sometimes if you think about it. Like, you know, we could do anything that we wanted. I could order anything from DoorDash, have it here, whatever, you know, whatever. It's all at our fingertips. And so like we can run away from having to face that truthfulness, that truth that's sitting right there. And that's where I run into having to be mindful, because I'm accepting everyone else's truths and making sure that everyone else feels safe. But then I come back to my reality at the end of the day. And it's really hard because at the end of the day, the only person that I have is me. And I'm like going to bed and I'm like, what is going on, Taylor? You know, like, how did we get here? I do that a lot. And I'm like, because it's the same thing. And I just take it on. And sometimes I'd like to say, yeah, but sometimes it is selfish. It's just so I don't have to focus on my things. I'll be honest about that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I can divert my attention, but you know, all of them I'm going to work into. I have like this cork board thing that I'm going to put them out because I want to be familiar with them, but they all mean a lot to me. Honestly, I've been learning a lot more. I've been watching, there's a couple of videos I could send you, and she explains them, and she has like animations and stuff, because I just kind of looked into a lot of it because it does fascinate me. It means a lot more.
It's beautiful. I'd love to send along those videos. And
Yes.
I love what you said about being true to ourselves. And really I believe it's a lifelong journey to really, you know, what makes us happy? What what are our passions? And, you know, weeding out what everybody else thinks, what we've been taught, wanting to please other people and all that, like you had said, Taylor, is, you know, everybody around us, what they want for us, but letting that all go and really, end of the day, what is it? What's in our truth? What's in our heart? What do we love?
Yeah.
What do we want to surround ourselves with? Because often a lot of us are caretakers, and when we, you know, we're like that caretaking kind of energy of wanting to make sure everybody's okay, like me, coach,
Yeah.
daughter's okay, and then we abandon ourselves. We're out of our business, we're in their business, and then, but really keep coming back to our own self and being truthful about what's true for us. And one of the ways that I've been able to really get back to my heart, get back to my truth, is to look at when I was a little girl. What did we do when we were little kids, little boys, little girls? What did we do on our free time? What did we love to do? Because we were unfiltered back then. You know, we weren't pressured by all the conditioning. We just did what we loved. We played with the games we loved and the toys we loved. And I was outside in nature all day. You know, that's what I love. So thinking about that.
Yeah, and also all the recovery coins I've ever got says it right on there, to thine own self be true.
Mhm.
And it's a process, you know. I've spent many years working on myself and allowing myself to be comfortably sober in my body. And the purpose, the 12 steps that I've done for many years is found in the first half of the 12th step, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. So for me, it all comes down to that. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And if I allow myself to acknowledge that and move into that part of me through, you know, different things that I do with meditation and yoga, then I can be grounded enough to come from intelligence with whatever situation comes up in my life. And I'm gonna have to get going in a couple minutes. It's 9:45 here. My mom is kind of needing my assistance, so I'm gonna have to wrap it up at my end.
Yeah, well, I think we could end 15 minutes early if everyone's okay with that. So we can all end together. And any other questions about mindfulness, mindful communication? It's
No, I think that
always-
was a good conversation. Honestly, that was a good talk. So I think
Yeah.
we needed very
That-
beneficial.
That was awesome. Life gets so crazy, and then we get in these little intimate meetings with one another, and it reminds me of like everything's gonna be okay, and there's always love around me, and I don't have to, doubt anything in my life because I'm not necessarily doing anything wrong, and the universe is always on our side, especially when you're like, I feel in alignment with your truth and your wants and needs. So I'm really grateful for you guys, and I love you guys.
Okay,
Thank you for all your shares. It was awesome and really eye-opening.
Likewise, thank you all.
Thank
Appreciate you
you.
all.
All right,
You
bye y'all.
all
Bye, guys.
relax and
Yes.
know you are loved. We'll see you soon again.
Okay, bye,
Bless
Grace.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.